All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I am so excited to bring in some incredible human beings and some awesome, intelligent, brilliant, and beautiful ladies into the show right now. And for anyone that doesn't know, we're going to get into a little bit, but right now we're in a kind of an interesting spot in our industry where maybe your inventory is not exactly where you want it to be. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, should I keep advertising? Do I keep pumping money into it? Or maybe you're kind of like, maybe I need to be pulling back. Well, today we're going to jump in with Sarah Ciociola, with April Simmons, Hannah Lifson, and Laurie Halter, who is here in spirit. And she's here, but she's not here, but she is. And they're also going to be speaking at Digital Dealer and on Thursday, October 13th at 11:30. So if you don't have your tickets, you can catch them there. Make sure you go get your tickets to it. So we're going to jump into this. Why? Just because your inventory is invisible doesn't mean your advertising should be. So I'm going to go through it one more time. We have Sarah, she's the paid media director for PCG. We have April Simmons, who is the corporate internet and marketing director at Horn Automotive. And April, you know how many times I have said Van Horn and like practicing this? And so I'm like, no, it's Horn, not Van Horn, because I'm in Illinois. So I'm like, oh, it's not. So Horn Automotive, not Van Horn. And we have Hannah, who is the marketing director at Friendemic. And she is just like a stone's throw away from me here in Chicago. And Laurie in spirit, who is the founder and owner of Charisma Communications. She's also the host of Korean podcast. And I think her probably, other than, mom, as we have moms on the show, is she's a super connector. I mean, she's everywhere. She connects everybody and will be the first to say, hey, how may I introduce you? So I am so incredibly excited to have these 4-ish beautiful women on the show and intelligent women on the show. I call it the super mega panel, if you will. And we're going to jump into this a bit about just how important it is right now with inventory and the chip shortage is kind of looming. And I know I personally am dealing with it a lot. And you start looking at some of these Google trends and where people are searching, and it is so important that we don't pull back on this. So I'm going to kick it off to April first, because April is in the dealership. And April, talk a little bit about just how has your marketing strategy changed in 2022, which is, or you can just say this year would be the same thing, versus last year?
Well, I actually got the opportunity, which has been exciting, to do a lot of the things I've always wanted to do, which is to work on some of the foundation things, the stuff that nobody wants to do. So dealerships as a whole tend to be very reactive. We like to be very last minute. Oh, shoot. It's Labor Day this weekend. Did you know it's Labor Day weekend? It's Thursday. Say, April, could we do like a mailer and an e-blast and do all these things? And they like to do things very last minute. The problem with that is that means that we're always just chasing the instantaneous deal. And the cost, the ROI on those things have always been very expensive. So you run a mailer, you spend $10,000 with the hopes of, selling 3 or 4 or 5 cars. Well, now suddenly the dealers are going, well, wait a minute, I have no cars on the ground. So does that necessarily make sense to run that kind of play? Well, that opened up some of the budget that we've notoriously spent in that area and allowed me to be a little more proactive. Well, when we're proactive, we're able to go a little further up the funnel. We're able to start building out things that will organically help our presence long term. And because we were able to start doing that already a couple of years ago, we are seeing massive reward in that. So by putting things in areas like our Google business profile and our social media and doing some of those type of things, running heavy in video, we've been able to see huge increases in our organic traffic. And guess what? That's the free stuff, folks. So that's what we're all after is building that, and it's been fantastic.
I'm gonna ask the same question over to you, Sarah, and then Hannah, coming up to you.
Yeah, so in terms of the inventory shortages and the chip shortages and everything, what I'm finding with dealers on the digital side is that everybody is skipping branding. So when we talk about a full funnel digital marketing strategy, you want to have branding campaigns, you want to have mid-funnel traffic campaigns, messenger campaigns, and then you want to have lower funnel conversion-based lead generation advertising. When initially, a year or two ago, when all the dealers were like, I don't have any inventory, I want to freeze all of our social media advertising, I want to only spend $500, $1,000 on Google, we were like, absolutely not, because you're never going to get the results that you're looking for by just running lead generation advertising, especially for such low of a budget. Dealers really don't understand how much of an impact it causes on their digital marketing to take back budget like that. You really have to make sure you're consistent with your budgeting, you're consistent with your strategies. So always running branding, always running mid-funnel campaigns, and always running lower funnel campaigns is always what I recommend. And that's what we've recommended through the beginning, through the inventory shortage up until now, 2022. But it takes a lot of education. I think we can all agree, just as an industry, that dealers, you need to educate them, especially as a vendor or a partner. You need to make sure that you're explaining to them how their decisions are going to impact their digital marketing, how it's going to impact the results, and then it's also how it's going to impact them a year from now when they're looking at year-over-year data and they're not seeing the results and they're not seeing the data that they're looking for to move their digital advertising forward.
So Hannah, before I come up to you, I just want to point out, I wrote literally skip down here and I just read what I wrote here. So let's try that one more time. Is that between April and Sarah, a couple of things that I want to bring together here is that April, you're talking about Google Business Profile, formerly Artist, known as Google Business Pro. I can't even say it. My Google is my business. I can't even say it correctly. Like, just choose a name and stick with it, because I don't know what to call you anymore. Like, you don't know. You're confused. Google. You're drunk. Go to bed. Like, go home, Google. I know you don't know what you want. Is that's so important? Is that organic traffic? And if you're doing exactly what Sarah just said, is that branding? Man, it's so important. Is that branding? And if you're not educating both on, and I am, and I think Hannah can attest this one. I'm going to say business partner. Because I hear vendor, I've been on both sides. I've been on the dealership side and I've been on the vendor side. And as soon as you get here, could call the vendor, you're like, so my contract's ending soon. Is that I'm not seeing it as a partner. So when you have the partner that will actually partner, that business partner that will actually partner with the dealership and say, hey, let's educate you on why this is important. Let's educate you on why this report is the way it is. So even if it's bad, and it's not bad, hey, this is why it didn't work so well. Or hey, we're going to try something new. And these are setting the expectation of why it is, where it's going to be. And even if something falters, being transparent on why it is that way, man, if you can take, hey, we screwed up, that's okay, but educate them. That is so important. And when you have the organic portion of it, you can't expect your business partners to succeed if you don't do the organic part. So I love having both of you go back to back like that, because it's so important. And now I'm going to tee it up over to Hannah. So from the pandemic portion of it, having that reputation is so critical. So Hannah, and how has your marketing strategy changed with everything that's going on in 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. And Brooke, as you were speaking, sort of making the correlating points between April and Sarah's overarching theme is a lot of that is truly facts, not feelings. It's, I don't think you even were meaning to do that, but that's exactly the sentiment and statement that you were making, which is a lot of how we at Friendemic look at what's going on in the market and where do we need to not just be advertising per se, but marketing. Like, where can you push more? Where can you pull back? And for us on our side, our background is very much so in the reputation management space. And what's the original form of reputation management? It's really just word of mouth. It's reviews. It's what did your friends say? What did your neighbors say? Why would you recommend them? And as April and Sarah both pointed out, consistency over the last 2 years has been key. So even if you're not having people come in, in person, as a lot of people are doing a lot of virtual, people are still looking online. They're going on Google. That's how they're looking to strangers at this point to kind of guide them in their shopping journey. So don't forget about collecting those reviews. And if you're not doing it at the front of the house, definitely make sure you're doing it at the back of the house. The back of the house has been so strong through the pandemic because if there's one thing that's been important for most people, it's reliable transportation from one point to another. If, for people like us in Chicago, we were taking public transit, had the privilege not to, but, they needed a place to go get their car serviced. And for someone like April, who I was fortunate enough to work with at many companies, but specifically at Friendemic, we saw that spot in the market. And we said, hey, what can we do to ensure that, number one, people even know you're open. People know that you're servicing cars. People know that you can service other brands outside of any of her, 12 makes or models. And we said, where can we do that? Number one place, Google. So we spent a lot of time over the pandemic optimizing her profiles to ensure that not only could her consumers find her, but maybe just people in the general area who needed somebody to be a reliable partner for them to fix the car. And sure enough, over the last 2 years, with that building of reviews, ensuring that there's up-to-date photos, even just hours, business operation, COVID protocol.
Oh yeah.
Well, the results have been stunning, like absolutely stunning and insane. And not only has she been pulling away, local competition from other nearby dealerships, but we're even talking about stealing competition from people like Pep Boys.
Nice.
Outside of the general franchise automotive world. So it's really about staying consistent, ensuring that your consumers are heard and have a place to, come back and look at what's going on at the dealership, reliable and valid information, and making it simple. Like, make it so simple that they have no reason but to still come to your dealership.
I think it goes back to this: keep it simple, stupid. We get to the point of, we all know I'm a little bit of a shoe nut, and Hannah can also attest to this, is that I was trying to decide what shoes to wear today, man, and I had to go down to Brooke Locker and decide what shoes to wear. It's a little bit of a daunting task to figure out, of the hundreds of shoes, what shoes to wear. And when you can narrow that down, and I joke about that, but in all seriousness, when you give the customer so many options, just keep it simple. So in that sense, it's just narrow it down. And I love this story between Hannah and April about, you are taking business away from pet boys. I almost said pet shop boys. That just dated me a little bit on how old Brooke is. I was like, pet shop boys? No, Brooke, that is not what she took. She did not take traffic away from pet shop boys. Although that was my first, I think that was my first tapes, not CDs, not 8-track. Yes. But anyways, I digress a little bit. But that's so important, because so often we're trying so hard to optimize that listing of service and parts. And it's like, oh, but Firestone's taking it away. And you sit there and make excuses. Well, just optimize it. Stop complaining. Do what you got to do. But if you're just going to set it and forget it, be like, I hope it works. Well, you hope it works? No, partner with someone that knows what the hell they're doing and do a good job. Like, so there's so many great companies out there. Just, you got to continue to inspect what you expect out of that company. So choose a partnership, choose a partner that's going to help you with that. You just can't set it and forget it and hope it works. That's not how it works. So I love that story, and just kudos to both of you. And April, I know, I'm fully aware that you are so far ahead of most people. I'm fully aware of that not everyone can have an April. I know that, but get an April, please. Someone get an April, because she's awesome. So.
And in the spirit of why and education, which I think are two of the really important parts of all of this, and why Digital Dealer and things we do, we really want people to go to that, is when you think about the Google Business Profile, it goes further than just the reviews and the consistency of it. It's really one of the biggest areas of SEO. So when you think about what you're able to do to drive organic traffic, and you think about what Google owns, so Google Business Profile, that's Google. And then you think about YouTube, which is also now Google. If you can figure out a way to take that Google Business Profile, which again is free, and you shove everything in there. If you have any empty spaces in your Google Business Profile, the first thing I would tell anyone today is fill it. Fill it as much as you can and consistently put stuff there, because the reason we're able to take a Pep Boys out now is because when you look for something, Google recognizes us as the dominating authority. We are the dominating authority. We are on the map. We are in the pack. We are all over the page, and you have to scroll to page 2 to see anybody else. And that's how you do it. So I just wanted to share the why you want to spend the time to do it, so that you can dominate everyone.
And I just want to throw a couple of stats out there. So we've talked about, okay, people are searching more, and we're going to get into more of that, but just for anyone to emphasize that it's not just us talking about, because once again, the show is facts, not feelings. So here's some facts about how many people and the search content around Google, that people are searching more than last year. Now, Brooke, there's less inventory, so I shouldn't be spending more money. Bullshit. Yes, you should be. And here's why. So according to Google Trends, the term of car repair and maintenance is up 650% year over year. 650%. That's a little bit. Like, I'm going to have a little bit more than 10 fingers to count that high. When they're looking at dealers near me, they're all up. To suffice the amount of data that's on there, let's just say they're up anywhere from 40 to 60% year over year. So consumers are searching more than they have ever searched year over year. And that's with inventory being less than it's ever Ben. So I'm going to kick it back over to Sarah. We're going to start with Sarah this time. So Sarah, how, with the branding portion, we know it's important with branding, but how has the messaging changed when you're working with your clients? How has the messaging changed with all that's going on?
Yeah, so I think the most important piece of the messaging piece is honestly just knowing who you're talking to. So when you create ads, whether it's on Google or it's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you really have to make it cater towards your audience and towards specific generations. So a big piece of the panel and what we're going to be talking about at Digital Dealer is how to advertise to Generation Z. That is an up and coming consumer market for automotive that not a lot of dealers or pretty much no dealers are tapping into right now. And the oldest person in Generation Z is 26 years old in 1996. I mean, they've been driving for years and years, and they may have owned 1 or 2 cars already. And it's really important, too, to make sure that people, the piece of Generation Z who aren't driving yet, you want to be top of mind for them when they are going to buy a car, when they do start driving, and when they have a car and they need to get it serviced. So making sure the messaging is catered to them, and also making sure that you're meeting that messaging where they are, which is why TikTok is also super important for dealers now too. A lot of dealers are giving me pushback that TikTok is for children, TikTok is for this, for that. These children are 17, 18 years old and they're driving. I mean, I'm 27, I'm on TikTok for like an hour a day at least. And I've had 2 or 3 cars already. So it's really important that that messaging is being catered to specific people, and then, moving through the funnel depending on what you're selling and why you're selling and what your why is, and making sure you're targeting people correctly that way too.
When we go back to, the amount of stats on this that Gen Z is looking to TikTok for their news over regular means. So you can sit there and say that TikTok, and I am definitely not 27. I'd love to be 27. I'm not 27. And it's taken me a bit to get on TikTok. The amount of times that Sarah and I've had this conversation, like, I don't even know how, and I finally said, Brooke, just turn on the camera and do it. Just do it. So slogan for Nike, of course. But it takes a bit to figure out, what do I do? And it's like, just all they want to know is it's not they're trying to figure out what it is or how to do it. And so if you want to grow your social presence, if you want to gain market share, you better be on TikTok, because those buyers are there. And whether it's a how-to video, whether it's just this is who we are, whatever it is, that generation and the generation below that is on TikTok. So you are missing a huge part of market share on that. And Hannah, I'm going to kick it up to you on that as well, of just how has your messaging changed, or how are you interact with your clients about how has your messaging changed at all, or has it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, you mentioned that dealer or consumers are searching with phrases such as just things like near me. And, our overarching theme for our panel here is dealership rates of, loyalty are diminishing. So how are you still able to rank for terms like that when it's so generic, it's so out there? And again, it all comes back to Google. You need to be able to say, if somebody searches, for example, again, using April, Kia dealership near me, you need to ensure that you're in that local map app, that you're ranking at the local SEO level. So I think a lot of our messaging has been more so around, what are you doing for your local SEO? We're not talking about national SEO. Nobody cares about a meta description or an H1 tag. That's not important here. What's important is that if a consumer is just looking for any old car because the dealership that you've been to doesn't have inventory, you want to make sure that you are the next one that comes to mind. And that's going to be the easiest, simple to find. And again, having all of that data filled out so it's quick, they can call, they don't even have to go to the website anymore. So a lot of our messaging has been structured around, what are you doing for your local SEO efforts? And potentially even at a $0 rate. Just what are you doing to help self climb and make sure you're in that 3-pack? There's a lot of really simple ways to do it. Even if you just go to Google best practices, they're telling you there. They're giving you the signals. They're saying, do this, do that. But again, it takes that consistency and it takes that willingness to learn. And fortunately, we've had a little bit of time on our hands during the pandemic. So, I'm hopeful that dealerships are taking advantage of this sort of anomaly where I'll go to any dealership that's open. Maybe you guys even do that with like a nail salon. I'm like, a nail salon's a nail salon. I'm just going to type in one that's near me and it's open. And I'm going to go, regardless of what it is. Now, obviously, there's a lot more at stake with the vehicle. But if I'm looking between a Camry and an Accord, but I can get one today versus being on a wait list for 4 months. That's a pretty big difference. Again, coming back to reliable transportation and need to get to and from work. But I guess sort of also back to Sarah's point with TikTok, video we've seen is huge. Obviously, I think all of us here on the call can agree that video is always going to be like our next big form of communication. And there's no signal saying that video won't be important. But even outside of TikTok, still using that same kind of communication style, we found that just video in general is so helpful. Whether it's on, you're getting repair work done, again, back to service, creating that transparency, creating that I feel like I'm here, but I don't need to actually come to the dealership. Maybe it's a welcome service video. We've seen even upticks of email opens, just if you use the word video in the subject line, go up over like 70%. Same thing with walkarounds, especially on the used car side of things. Set the expectations, like build that transparency. Or even if you have stock photos on a VDP page, bring it to life. We know stock photos are great. It's tough to get everything, ready to go. Send a video if somebody's interested. Don't let there be an opportunity not to incorporate video into your communication style, regardless of if it's at the front of the house or the back of the house.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know when I was in the dealership, we did not just the service welcome, we had the service director welcome, we had the service tour. We said the amount of times that I would hear, and this goes back, I remember it was 2010. And I was working with the store, I was working as a consultant, I was working with the store, and shout out to Peru, Illinois. And we did a service because we kept hearing the same thing over and over again was, man, I don't know where to pull into the dealership to get service. And I go, that's a problem. So in 2010, I started this like research project to see what was the number one complaint. And I just heard over and over again that, so anyone, service people out, the big tidbit for you is that consumers have a rough time of knowing where to pull into the service drive. So any of my stores, I'm just like, hey, make a service pull into because I just heard this over and over again. So any store my stores that do this, that is one of the biggest videos that get clicked on, and the most views on it because they're like, I don't know where to pull in. And then obviously the service walkarounds, the service tour videos. I mean, they do astronomically well, and it automatically also takes that anticipation, like the dentist office, like, oh my God, I don't know, I don't want to go in. It's so scary, and you automatically humanize the experience. Obviously on the sales side, it's awesome as well. It's just when you automatically put yourself in that position of the consumer and just humanize that experience. And we all know people think that we're about as trustworthy as a congressperson. So just humanize the experience. So I love that you brought that up. That's a great, thank you so much for that, Hannah. All right, so April, did I have you answer that already? If not, we're coming to you.
No, but I'll make it quick because I think there's just one thing to kind of pull it all together as far as what I've changed instead of deals, right? Because that's normally what car business has always done. Deals. What we have changed our strategy a little bit to do is, okay, now we've got these consumers coming here, wherever it's coming from, they hit our website. Well, now if they don't see what they're looking for, right? They look for a car near me or what have you, and they get to your site and now you don't have it. What are we doing with that consumer? So I think the biggest change we've done is my strategy has been using Facebook or using other types of advertising strategy to talk about the pain points. So if you didn't see what you're looking for, I'm here for you. I'm here to hold your hand through this process to help you find the vehicle you're looking for and to get it. It may not be 6 months from now. It might be 3 days out and it's just not on the site yet. Doing stuff like that. Acquisition was another big one. So just using carousel ads on Facebook instead of it being inventory that I don't have, talking about pain points and how we can, as a dealer, help that consumer through those pain points. So those were a little bit of differences that we transitioned to through this inventory shortage.
I love it. And I think to add to that, what I have seen as well is that even how you structure your website has changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that all three of you have done this as well, is that, having different things to toggle because, and I believe, Sarah, it was Brian that first talked about this to say, hey, website providers, why, if the car's not there, why can't something pop up and say, hey, it's not here, let's chatter? I mean, talk about, April, I want to come back to you on this one. Did you change things like that on your website to say, hey, it's not here, let me help you? Or is your website providing you helping you with that? Or is it different.
I did three things to try to really hit it home. I have a pop-up that basically says that. I have a landing page that allows you to, play around and almost build vehicles to kind of see, here's what I'm basically looking for. And I also did a video. So I have a video on my homepage and my SRP pages that just literally says, if you don't see what you're looking for, let me show you what to do and how to do it. There's many, many ways we as a dealership can help you find what you're looking for.
I love it. Sarah, I'll kick over to you. Did you do anything with your clients to say like order customizations if it's something different than, or is it the same thing April has been doing?
It's pretty much the same thing April's been doing, but really just hounding in from a digital marketing standpoint that if you are spending all this money on, regardless of the platform, any social platform, Google, and you are not happy with your results because you're driving traffic to your website and your website is laid out horribly, that is on the dealer. That is not on any of your advertising. You could have the best advertising in the world, and if it's driving to the wrong landing page, a landing page that has nothing to do with the call to action of the ad, or it's just very hard to navigate, it's not mobile friendly, you're going to fail every single time. And it's really important for us, again, tying it back to education, that it all matters. It all ties into each other. It needs to be media mix modeling. I know Bob Lanham talks about that all of the time. You need to make sure that all of your marketing and all of your digital efforts are working together cohesively. You can't be measuring Google and then measuring your social advertising and then looking at your website and then looking at your traditional advertising. It needs to work together. The messaging needs to be cohesive, and wherever you're guiding it, it needs to all work together.
So to go on that as well, I think it's really key that when you're inspecting the facts and inspecting what you should expect, and when you're working the facts, to understand that as great as Google is, and we all love Google Analytics, soon to be GA4, is that it's another tool in the tool belt, that it can't measure certain things. And I love Google Analytics. I'll be the first to say I'm a Google freak, a Google nerd. I love it. And I'm going to hold people accountable, but there's certain things they cannot measure. If you're looking at Amazon advertising, it's not going to measure that. So don't try to measure it, because it's not going to be complete. If you're looking at social, it's not going to measure that. So don't try to measure it and then be like, oh, they failed. Well, no crap, it failed because you're an idiot. Like, okay, you're not an idiot. I take it back. You're not an idiot. I love you. You're fine. But understand that it's a tool in the tool belt, that you need to be looking at stuff. And that when you're looking at, if someone has a proprietary dashboard, okay, why is it proprietary? Is it because it doesn't go to Google, or they're trying to hide something? If they're trying to hide something, that's a whole other thing, but those dashboards need to be going in the same direction. So, Sarah, I'm actually going to go back to you, and then Hannah will come up to you in a second. I know, Sarah, you've dealt with this a lot, especially from the social standpoint. Talk a little bit about that, because I know that you do a lot with this.
Yeah, I have a very strong stance on Google Analytics. I think the automotive industry as a whole, specifically dealers, are married to Google Analytics, and it becomes very frustrating as a marketer, because the only platform that is 100% going to translate into Google Analytics is Google or Google-owned platforms. YouTube, Google, you cannot accurately measure any of your social advertising in Google Analytics. It is one measurement tool, Brooke, like you just said, that you should be using multiple measurement tools. The best marketers know that you cannot trust one marketing tool, and you have to be able, as a strong marketer, to tell a story with multiple pieces of data. I have this all the time. I just had somebody ask me, this TikTok traffic is not appearing correctly in Google Analytics. I said, why are you looking in Google Analytics to measure your TikTok traffic or measure your TikTok success? You have to be looking in the platform. It is not owned by Google. It's never going to translate properly. Same with Meta. We're always looking in Google Analytics for social traffic. Now, half the time, you don't even drive your social advertising from Meta to your website. You're keeping it all on the platform because of the privacy first features and environment that we're in digitally. So it's really important, and I hound this in every time I talk to a client and every time I'm speaking at a conference. You cannot rely on Google Analytics. You have to use multiple forms of measurement.
Amen. Amen. And Hannah, I know you deal with social to an extent, so do you want to add to this at all?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the key pieces, and I know I sound like I work for Google at this point, but how I, am promoting Google business profiles and
wait, is that it's on your business card? Seriously?
Soon.
Kickbacks are coming. It's okay.
But there's more. No, I'm just kidding.
But there's more.
So unfortunately, for Google Business Profiles, one of the most underutilized elements sort of is that social piece that is available. They do have a posting feature that has 7 or 8 different categories that you can post to. And if you're already doing some of the other efforts like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you can actually repost and put them into Google. Not only is that giving it a signal for you to, again, rank higher and hone in on that local SEO, but on the back end, as it is a Google platform, it does give you those insights that are a bit more measurable, that are a bit more tangible, because where the social posts land on your Google Business Profile is so far below the fold. If you go on the back end and you see that somebody actually viewed this thing and you can add a call to action that a lot of people link back to particularly the inventory, and somebody clicked on it, that is somebody who really wanted to be there. You don't randomly just start scrolling at your son's baseball game and come up on a used Kia in the Metro Phoenix area. This person was looking and they're serious and they're clicking. So I'd say if you haven't gone into the Insight tab of your Google Business Profile, definitely check it out. It's there. Again, it's free. And don't disregard posting, number one, because again, it's a signal for you to start ranking more heavily. But number two, it's giving you an idea of traffic that you can potentially link back now that there's a conversion of sorts going on.
And I will say with that too, and George will agree with me, because we both have had this discussion, that please optimize it, because the amount of times I have seen, and we were actually having this game about the weird categories that pop up, the things are at a service dealership that you'll pop up and be like a lawyer, or just weird freaky categories that pop up that because people can make suggestions, and if you don't go in there and be like, oh yeah, that's not true, they'll just show up. And Google breaks things. In April, I'm coming to you on this one, because I know, being in the dealership, how much fun this is. And Sarah, I know that you and I had fun times being at a dealership with things that just break all the time. I mean, I had one time where Facebook and Google just said, oh, you're closed. I'm like, we're not closed. Stop changing stuff. And when Google breaks stuff, you're at the mercy of Google. So you've got to constantly be going in and optimizing and saying, nope, no, we're not actually a divorce attorney law. No, we're not at all. We don't specialize in blah, blah, blah. So it is so crazy important to continually to go in there and inspect. If you don't have someone in-house, please do. And if you do have someone in-house, please don't make them wear 700 hats. I beg of you. Please stop making them wear 700 hats. Get them help. I beg of you, because they don't need to wear the marketing hat, plus the shut-off lights hat, plus the party planner hat. Just stop making them do all that stuff. Please stop making them do that, and get them some help. So April, I'm coming to you on this one. I don't remember the last question I asked, but I'm coming to you on if you want to add anything to what we just been talking about.
Oh, well, so 2 things that I'm going to laugh my butt off about Google Business Profile, because we did a session in Tampa at the digital dealer, and I was talking about how you need to inspect what you expect on this daily. You can't do it once a month.
Yeah.
Even you have to look at this stuff every single day, because they will change things. I said up to and including your name. And no joke, not a joke at all, I'm at a layover in Texas, and I'm sitting at the airport, and of course, like I do, I'm looking at my emails and I'm going through things. I'm like, oh, this is weird. And then I click over to something, and sure as shit, my Horn Mazda dealership, which is called Horn Mazda, that's the name of the dealership, was now called Mazda of Horn. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's really fun. And I thought, okay, Google's literally punking me. They heard my session and they're like, here we go, we're gonna do this to her. But it actually had happened twice. And the one time, this is why this is so important, again, on the daily, I had another one of our dealerships where we had just acquired the dealership and we had gone through all the process. We had changed everything. It was all set up and done. And a few months later, they said, oh, look, new business. They created a new business, took my other one away, which had thousands of reviews on it. And it's now gone, just gone. And I was literally told, had I not reached out to Google as quickly as I did, there would have been no reversing it. But because we caught it fast enough, we were able to actually get that reversed and changed. But even that took, a couple of weeks to kind of work through that process. So it is so important because ultimately, just like needing help in-house, Google has computers that are their help. And so a lot of times the decisions are being made by a computer that says, oh, look at this, there's a new business over here, just created it. And it has no idea what it's actually doing. So you literally have to look at it on the day-to-day. But also with looking at all the different metrics, Google Business Profile is another one, to Hannah's point about insights. We look in our Google Analytics and it's a Google product. So you think everything from Google Business Profile is going to show up in Google Analytics. It's not. Because again, if something is happening over here, it's before it hits the website. Google Analytics is your website traffic. It is not your traffic over here. So when you're talking about all those click to calls, those maps for directions, a lot of the things that are happening before they hit your website, those things are in those insights too. So they're super, if go there and you'll see why I'm telling you to spend time really optimizing that space.
Yeah, I laugh because I've been there. And it's like you laugh because I feel your pain. And it's like whether it's they're taking service listing and then putting them under a completely different, taking your Mazda and putting it under a Ford list. You're like, they're not even the same OEM. Like, what are you doing? Or they're like, I've seen them where they're taking the wrong. They completely take an address out of nowhere. I'm like, where did you even get this? Like this address, like it's in Kentucky. Like, where did you get this? I've seen the craziest things. I think we all have some very fun stories. And it's like I said, if you're not constantly inspecting this, exactly what April said is that it can be gone in an instant, and there's literally nothing you can do. So it's always a fun thing to do this, but that is why it's so important that you're constantly looking at this on a daily. So I think I'm going to round this out before we jump into the fun-filled lightning questions, which I know everyone was just like just so excited for them. Is what is the one takeaway, the most helpful hint that you could give to the audience that they could go back and implement today at their dealership? Well, sorry, start with Hannah.
Absolutely. Gosh, I mean, I think sort of what we've been able to talk about and compile for the dealership is going to be an actionable list that they can just go in, potentially at no cost, and just start evaluating, reevaluating, looking at their spend. And what's really important, how can they make the money matter if there's something behind it, versus what is free and they need to be taking advantage of. So we're definitely going to be giving away specific bullet points that day from each of us, as well as April's going to reveal how she has actually been utilizing these methods, where she's been implementing, and we're going to share some real results and data.
I love it. I mean, I wish I could just fast forward to October, the way that as quickly as this month is going, and it probably will be tomorrow, but like I said, everyone, I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to repeat it again. And it means you're definitely going to want to be there. Get there. We're going to throw this up here in a second here, but get your tickets, digital dealer. Try that one more time. Digital dealer, October 13th. We got to get there. So going down to Sarah, what takeaway, helpful hint that our audience can take into their dealership right now and put into implementation?
Yeah, I think kind of exactly what Hannah said. Industry leaders do a really great job and are continuing to do a really great job at educating dealers, like we've been talking about throughout this podcast. It's really important, whether you are doing your marketing in-house or you're working with partners or you're working with multiple partners, is that people are going to throw so many great ideas at you and so much info about so many great platforms. You as a dealer need to decide what works best for you. You certainly do not have to spend money on every single platform and take advantage of every single partner. You have to figure out what works best for you, especially with the inventory shortages and the chip shortages, just making sure that you are educated on everything. So if a year or two from now, something does work for you that maybe isn't working for you right now in 2022, you're educated and aware and can move forward.
I love it. And I think it goes back to just, once again, inspect what you can inspect and knowing, okay, is this a fact versus a feeling? Okay, are you actually telling me what I want to hear? Or are you just taking credit for everything that because, you sold me 200. No, you didn't. You may have been a part of the journey, but no, you didn't sell that. So just knowing, do I really need the shiny new object that you saw at a 20 group, or is this something working backwards that we actually need? So I really like that a lot. So April, round us out here. What is it? A big takeaway, the main takeaway from that dealers can implement right now?
I think the biggest one is don't wait to start. I think a lot of times, somebody learns all of these things and then they feel overwhelmed, and so they don't do anything. And I think the biggest understanding is that there's a lot of people in the dealership that are willing to help. So you need to bring your team together, figure out who can do what, and then who's going to be the person to inspect those things. So I get a lot of help from a lot of different people. I'm like, here, I need you to do this little piece. You do this little piece. I need you to post this on social, but share that content with all these other people so that they can post it on Google and YouTube. And we do a lot of sharing across the board, but that takes communication. So communicate and start now. Don't wait. There's no reason to wait on these things. Just get going.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love how you also said it's not just one person's job. It's everyone's to come together, that it's not the marketing director, manager, whatever your title is that is on your card, because you do a lot of other things. And I know that you do it's, hey, I need your assistance to help me with this, that, hey, we need to have this and this. And I just love that it's a team effort to get there. So I absolutely love that. So with that, drum roll, please. We're gonna jump into the lightning round now. Sarah, I know that you have been on the show previously, so we're gonna try to mix up a little bit here, so it's not hopefully the same questions a little bit. And if it is, maybe someone missed the episode last time. I don't know why they missed it, but we'll forgive them this time. They can get the answers this time. So before we jump in, the first question is gonna go to Hannah, because it might be the most important question. Is what shoes are you wearing right now, Hannah? That's what I gotta know. That's what I gotta know.
Oh man, what shoes am I actually wearing, or I wish I was wearing?
Oh, okay. Wish you're wearing that. What shoes do you wish you're wearing right now?
Yeah, I'm like in real life, I'm in slippers because I work from home.
Thanks so much.
But if I was on the street and hopefully, we were grabbing a drink or something.
Yes.
I'd love to be in like my cool gray low 11s.
Ooh, good choice. No, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Right now, I have on the my ones, slip-ons. That's what I've got on right now. Yeah, but same thing. I'm using them. I using my UGG slippers my UGG slippers is what I have on. But today I was like, I knew I had to be wearing something, so that's what I've got on right now. So okay, with that, we'll jump in here. We're going to start. Hannah, I was talking to you, so we're going to start with there. Hannah, where can our audience find you? To connect with you? Where can our audience find you?
Easiest place to find me, reach out please on LinkedIn. I've got my own URL, so it's just linkedin.com/Hannah Lifson. As long as your message doesn't look like spam, I'll be sure to reply, probably within a 24-hour time frame. And if you're at Digital Dealer and we haven't actually met in person, I'm not shy. Please come and shake my hand. Let's connect in real life as well.
And if you've got cool kicks on, both her and I are going to automatically make shoe contact before make eye contact, and just a good chance of talking to you. So
that's correct. That's correct.
And I love that. Like, I love when you say, like, if it doesn't look like spam, because the amount of, and same thing, like, I see you on and you message me for sure. If it's coming in InMail, like, there's a good chance I'm not going to see it, because most people in InMail are like, I don't know who you are. But yes, I love that. So, all right, April, we're going to come down that way. April, where can our audience find you?
Same thing as Hannah. LinkedIn is the easiest way to get in touch with me. And same thing, people who are reaching out genuinely for help, I always try to get back to them. I think, going together as a team is really important as an industry. So I'm always willing to spitfire ideas, et cetera, et cetera. You can always reach me at my email as well, april@horncars.com, and that's Horn with an E. But those are the two best places.
Fantastic. And Sarah, round us out.
Yep, LinkedIn for me too. I try to share as much educational content as I can. So LinkedIn is definitely the best place.
Yeah, he's on there a lot, for sure, for sure. Always, and if you don't follow, first off, follow all these ladies. Sarah, you're always having great content about sharing the latest article or the latest whatever, stats. So awesome content from all these ladies. So definitely follow them out. And if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this, the bottom right now, you've got the scrolling here. In the notes is going to be the links. As always, there's a personalized link to each one of these ladies where you can follow not only them, but also their businesses. So there you go. All right, so let's take it down here. Let's start with April this time. April, what's some advice that you'd give another female looking to get into the industry or that's already in the industry?
I think the biggest one is to find a friend. I think a lot of times in this industry, when I first started, it was very difficult for me. There were no other females in it, I was the only one in a whole entire store, and needing to just find somebody that I could relate to, vent to when other people are trying to take you down that can be on your level. So I think the number one thing is to find a friend. I now in my role try to be that friend to other, especially females coming in, but even the guys, it's hard. It can be intimidating. There's a lot of moving factors and a lot of stress that goes on. So just find a friend, I think, is the most important thing. Build a community.
I love it. And it's very, very key. I think that all of us have been in the industry for a hot minute, and probably remember when we were the only female that came in, or one of one or two. So finding that female to champion that female, I think that's a great, great, great piece of advice. Hannah, up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for anybody who's in the industry or is even thinking about getting into the industry, for me personally, and most of us here on the call, I don't necessarily just look at this as automotive. I tell most people I work in digital marketing. There's so much opportunity and room for growth in this industry. And because automotive sometimes gets a bad rep, people are hesitant to even sort of consider what does digital automotive marketing look like, especially on the partnership or vendor perspective. Everything that any Fortune 500 company is doing, we're doing. We're throwing events. We have huge parties. We have a great network. We're at the leading forefront of technology. We're working with multi-billion-dollar companies that are known around the world. So I just don't think that you should completely rule it out, and think of it more so, especially if you're on the marketing side of things, how can I get in with a brand like this, or how can I get in with a company like this? Because the opportunity that's here and the technology that's available, especially in the digital space, is top tier.
I love it. Sarah, I'm going to change it up a little bit because I know I've asked you this previously. So if you are in an elevator and you had like a 60 seconds to tell someone, a female, to say, hey, this is why I love the industry, what are you telling that female?
Oh, man.
Sorry, I changed it up on you. I apologize.
I think I would just say, when you find your network and when you find your group of women that are your support system, you can go to any height and you can go to great lengths to succeed and do whatever you want to do. And you need to make sure that you are constantly maintaining those relationships and remembering in the back of your head, it doesn't matter if you are a specialist on a team or you are the CEO of a company, you can never stop learning, and you have something to learn from every single person that you are networked with for as long as you have your career.
Oh, love it. If I wasn't in the industry, I'm like, sign me up. I want in. Like, where do I go? How do I get into this industry? I love it. I love it. Okay. So Sarah, we're going to stick with you. What are you doing? We're going into the weekend here. So what are you doing on the weekend? What are you doing to unwind?
Oh man. Well, tomorrow I'm seeing an Almost Queen cover band at the Stone Pony, which is, if everybody's familiar with the Stone Pony, it's a very iconic concert stage right on the beach in Asbury Park, New Jersey. So that is what I will be doing tomorrow.
Nice. So in general, a concert's a high on the list of things to do to kind of like, hey, that's my downtime. I like to do that.
I haven't been to a concert all summer. My downtime is sitting on the beach with a good book. I am complete opposite. I'm like, don't talk to me. Don't look at me. I want to be in the ocean or with my book on the sand, and that's it. Okay.
Fantastic. All right. April, and then we'll go up to Hannah.
All about nature. I mean, that's my best unplug, unwind. Take the camper out and get out of the heat. We go up the mountains. Spent a good book. I love a good book. If I can't get out of the house because I'm too close to work, then I'll sit by the pool with a book. I'm all about the nature. Get out and get a good hike in. Go kayaking, whatever.
Nice.
Bodies. I do love me some bodies.
I tried kayaking once. I was like, oh, God, it's probably like 8. No, I take it back. I was probably 9 or 10. My mom took us and we tried it in the pool. I remember did like the Eskimo roll, and that was fun. And that was probably the last time I did that. But that's as far as my kayaking has gone. So kudos to you. All right, Hannah, up to you.
I'm more of a lazy river kayaker.
Okay. I'm like the floaty kayaks. That's the kind. Yeah. Okay.
Take the feet off the side of the kayak kind of deal.
I love it. Yeah, my outdoorsy is like about outdoors I get is like
should not spill off the side while
yeah. Yeah, I'm like, give me a spot for my adult beverage and I'm good to go. All right, sounds good. Okay, Hannah, up to you.
So I am actually headed down to Mexico for the weekend. love a good weekend, but I'm most excited. I am going whale shark diving. So it's been on my bucket list, and this is their migration season. So I've got a tour set up for the weekend to hop in the water, open water with them. I've been working my way up with my diving. So this will be the largest animal I've gone open water with.
Okay, I'm
Hannah
super
just beat
jealous.
us all.
I mean, I think we're just going to close out the show on that one. Okay, first off, we're going to need to see awesome pictures from this, and I am super, super jealous. Like, come on, really? That is so cool. So
Yeah,
cool.
you asked me on the perfect weekend. Last weekend, I didn't leave my house. I watched about 40 hours of Real Housewives, but you asked me on the right weekend when I was at.
I just totally saw a direct TV commercial like Real Housewives Sharks, Real Housewives Sharks. That is phenomenal. I'm going to go into a serious question now, but man, that was like the best answer I think I've ever received on. This is the 64th episode. That was best. Like, I don't know, 65. I don't know. We're the 60th episode now, and that was by far the best answer ever. So, Hannah wins. Sorry, Hannah wins. Okay, we'll start with April on this one, and then work our way to Sarah, and then Hannah. So we kind of mix it up here. All right. And in April, what I've learned in the short time that we've known each other is that you also like the saying "facts, not feelings." So I think you're going to like this question: is whether it's in personal or in work, what are you constantly trying to distinguish facts from feelings in what you do?
Actually, and I will say, I'm a huge facts not feelings person. Long before I ever knew who Brooke was,
before I knew you,
the Facts Not Feelings podcast. When I initially started trying to get other people to drink my Kool-Aid on why we should make certain decisions, it was what I would always say. Okay, I love that you feel like that mailer worked because one person walked in with it, but the facts are, and I would take them to the data. And it all really started for me long ago when I was early in the business, because fun fact about April, I'm actually really sensitive. Most people don't think that I'm a very sensitive person, but I'm actually kind of a sensitive person. So in order for me to stay focused and be successful, I had to really force myself to look at the facts of things. And so I've just trained myself that way, and now use it as my mantra to train other people. Let's look at the facts of it. Even when somebody's venting or getting emotional on me, I'll say, okay, let's take a time out. Let's look at what really happened. And even there, I'll take them back to the math, back to the fact. So Facts Not Feelings is literally like my favorite. You are my superhero. And a podcast on it because it makes my whole soul happy.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel the same way. It just, you take the drama out of it. Like that's great. You feel that way. Let's look at what the data says. But I will say there always is a caveat, because people will turn a report into how they feel. I'm like, no. You use a report to twist the facts. That's what does it actually say? So I'm like, no, work the facts here, buddy. And that's, So I feel the same way. All right, Sarah, over to you.
Yeah, mine's very similar to April. So as I'm, a newer leader in the space and continuing to grow my leadership skills, something I learned very quickly from managing a team is knowing how to decipher what's a vent session and what's an actual concern and fire drill. In the beginning, I did not even know the difference between the two, and knowing the difference, and both are equally important, but knowing what's just somebody venting and knowing when something is of immediate real concern, the fact versus the feeling, is something that I think all leaders are probably developing all of the time.
So true story. I had just moved to Chicago, and I was working with a client that was considered a red flag client. And I am driving, I think I was on the Dan Ryan Express, Hannah, and it was like lots of traffic, because Chicago obviously has traffic. It's not like, anyway. So, and this client calls, and I was just told, whatever you do, always enter the phone. I was like, okay. So I literally pulled over to the side, and I opened my laptop, and I've got my, my Wi-Fi spot going, and I get the tow truck coming behind me, and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I pulled over, took a phone call. You can't pull over here. I was like, but I was told by my company I have to take the phone call. They're like, you gotta move. I was like, but I was told. But going back to you said, I was like, I was told always take this phone call, but it wasn't a fire drill. Like, they wanted some like a person added to their system. I was like, I was told I was supposed to take this phone call. But there's a huge difference between venting and a fire drill. And I full out had cars whizzing by me. I almost got a ticket for pulling over to the side of the road and trying to be safe. But yes, there's a huge difference. So Hannah, up to you.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think as As you guys know me, I'm very much a facts, not feelings. I like to run a really tight ship, typically with time being at the essence of it. I love to have time. I do not like being rushed. So anything I can do to be proactive, typically that means eliminating the feeling portion of it. What do I need to do to get this done? When do you actually need it by? What's the real deadline? I'll be the one to give fake deadlines, which I do all the time, because there's always pushback. There's always, edits. You need to leave room. So I just don't have a ton of time to have emotional investment into something, whether that's in my, personal life or my professional life. I like to just streamline it. And I think organization is just the key to all of it. How can we make this simple? How can we create transparency? And in all honesty, this method's been working really smoothly for a number of years. It's I don't have time to cry over spilled milk. It's the same thing. It's the facts and the feelings. Is this really a big deal? Are we curing cancer? No, we're selling cars. When does that ad need to go live? When do we need to hit your quota? And what are the steps that we can do that? Let's put together a plan. If we can be proactive, let's do it. If you truly think this is a fire drill, not only am I going to stop what I'm doing, we're all going to stop what we're doing if it's truly that important. This is not just for one solo person on a team to be handling. This is a company problem then, and we all need to get together, get our best resources, and how can we, escalate this so that it can de-escalate.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so we're going to round this out with, if you could have lunch with one person, who is that person going to be? And I'll start with Hannah.
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. If it's somebody I knew in real life, I'd love to have lunch with my grandpa. He passed away over COVID, so we didn't get a chance to do some of our final big lunches together. He's out in LA. He's just the sweetest, cutest old man you could ever think of. So I would, die to have another lunch with him. If it was someone professionally who I didn't know, I'd love to meet Barry Obama. I think he's got enough swag that he would be, a good laugh, but also just has so many good insights and, ran a country for a few years. So I think he's probably got a couple good leadership tips and has a great Spotify playlist. So I think we could connect on a few items for professional and for fun.
I love it. I love it. April, we'll go down to you.
Oh, geez, that is a really hard one. Kind of like Hannah, my grandmother on my dad's side, she passed away before I was born. And, when I hear stories, I feel like so much of myself resonates with her. And so I think that is a person I would love to have lunch with, just from that standpoint. As far as somebody, inspirational, there's so many people who inspire me every day. That is almost, honestly, like, that's an impossible question for me to answer, because it depends on the day. Like, certain days I need this type of inspiration and other days I need that one. There's so many amazing people. But one who really comes to mind is Sarah Blakely, because I just think she's fun. Like, and I love her approach at being an entrepreneur. And as somebody who hopes to be an entrepreneur someday in my future, I feel like she's amazing, just on all levels.
I love it. And if you ever if you ever do take that step, you will crush whatever you do. I mean, you're just, yeah. So yeah. All right, Sarah, over to you.
I think inspirationally, probably like Oprah or somebody just like super iconic. And then personally, just my sister. She's 9 years younger than me, and we're two peas in a pod. We're exactly the same, and she's pretty much the love of my life. And any time that I could ever spend with her, I'd take it. So
I love it. It's always interesting when I ask this. I don't ask it on every session, but when I do, I love hearing these, and it's always different when people say, and I love hearing that. So, all right. Well, everyone, thank you, all of you, Hannah, April, and Sarah, and Laurie, and Spirit, for being here. I so appreciate the insight. Everyone, your inventory may not be what you want it to be right now, but that does not mean that you need to stop advertising. There are so many ways to organically do this, and then obviously from a paid way do this. Thank you so much, you three, for being here, and Laurie and Spirit for being here. If you missed this episode, It's going to be on anywhere you get your podcast. It's going to be on YouTube. And you can check all these amazing individuals out at Digital Dealer on October 13th, I believe, at 11:30. So get your tickets, check them out. And with that, I want to thank you again. And everyone, I'm always going to sign off for this. Find a way to serve today. I don't care if it's a kind smile, if it's opening up a door for someone, it's something big or small, but find a way to serve someone today. And by serving someone, we're not only moving this industry forward, but we're moving this world forward. So everyone, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you.